What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you guys through the ultimate guide to the upcoming Game Week 1. So if you guys are new to the channel, you probably won't know what these ultimate guide videos are, but it's basically a game weekly series that I do, kind of a one-stop shop for all the stats and talking points relating to the upcoming game week. And Game Week 1 is going to be no different. Now of course with Game Week 1, there's probably a ton more talking points than other game weeks, and that's why in this video I'll be going through topics such as chip strategy, as well as players to avoid. We also will be adding in our usual clean sheet odds plus projected goals, finally covering off the captaincy debate for the upcoming game week. So this is actually the first weekly video that we are going to be bringing back for the upcoming season, and you guys know what that means. The deadline is fast approaching. Please remember, it's going to be on Friday night, it won't be the usual Saturday morning / afternoon. And I've been repping the deadline stream that we'll be doing 1 hour before the deadline. Hopefully I'll see you guys there. Now as with all things FPL, it's pretty team dependent, and therefore if you guys have any specific questions about your own team, drop them in the comments down below or my Discord server. Obviously I can't cover everything in this video. But probably my favorite weekly video that I do go over, absolutely love looking at the stats for the upcoming games. So if you guys want to as well, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. Now the first stat we're going to be going over is going to be the expected clean sheets per fixture. You guys are going to see I've actually color coded these using the FPL colors, green to grey to pink to finally maroon. So unfortunately no 1 rated fixtures, just the 4 colors, and there's going to be about 5 teams in each category. Now with these clean sheet odds, I think every single game week you guys can use this a bit differently. I would probably use it for which defender to bench and who to start if you have a little bit of a benching dilemma. I would not go on picking my Game Week 1 defenders based on only 1 game week of information, so therefore don't load up on 3 Spurs defenders. Even though you could get points, you got to play the long game. But as you guys can see, Spurs are the highest chance of clean sheeters. Don't even know if that's a word, but 46% is the highest this game week. In second, we got Liverpool and Man City on 40%. Do have a bit of a drop off for Chelsea and finally Nottingham Forest. However, I do like the look of that 31% for them, as I'm currently looking at a double up or even a triple up of the Nottingham Forest defense. So I can see why a lot of people are going for someone like a Van der Ven at 4.5 million. The clean sheet chance is actually pretty high against Burnley. Now on the opposite side of the scale, the maroon fixtures, you can see Bournemouth with the lowest percentage, and they're followed by Burnley, Wolves and Crystal Palace before a bit of a jump to Fulham. Now what you guys can also tell from these odds is which games are going to be slightly more exciting. For example, Aston Villa, Newcastle, both teams with pretty low percentages, so that could be an absolute goal fest. Otherwise, Leeds, Everton might be slightly more boring, less goals conceded. And one fixture to maybe put some light on is going to be United Arsenal, as that's probably the hardest game to call, even though Arsenal are probably heavy favourites. I personally do have a Bruno Fernandes in my team should I bench him this week, although I could see United sneaking a goal here. But once again, throughout this season, this might help you guys out if you're looking to bring a defender in with instant returns, or your benching dilemmas, but for Game Week 1 these are the numbers. I'm going to now move on to slightly a more exciting stat, and that's going to be the projected goals, and these are from the SpreadX market odds. So bringing these up on screen, you can see the highest goal scorers are projected to be Liverpool at 2.75, and that's why Mo Salah is definitely the best captaincy option in my opinion. I generally use these odds when I'm deciding which attackers to start or which attackers to favour for that captaincy armband, and Liverpool followed by Spurs and Man City and also Chelsea. A little bit of a drop off for Brighton. Surprisingly, they're the 5th best attack at the moment on 1.75, so I wouldn't be starting Anderson if you guys have him in your defensive department. Now like we spoke about, the goal fest situations, Aston Villa Newcastle versus Leeds Everton, the clean sheet odds are kind of an inverse of projected goals. Now this week we do have some very high scoring teams, quite a few teams above that 2 mark. Trying to cover all of them with the budget though is going to be quite tough. We won't generally focus too much on the maroon squads, as those are basically the inverse teams of the clean sheet odds. But with Evan Nielsen currently in my draft, not really liking these projections. I will also add that Game Week 1 and the start of the season can be a bit different to how the market is projecting, as some of these squads start off a bit hotter and some a bit colder. So as with anything in FPL, the more game weeks we have information, the better we can predict. So just keep that in mind on this one. Do you still like the look of United projected to score more than 1 goal against Arsenal? As long as Bruno is involved, I'll be a happy man. Otherwise, is going with no Man City attack actually a wise decision? Quite surprised to see actually West Ham so low against Sunderland. I was expecting quite a few goals if you guys are going to be looking at someone like a Jared Bowen or a Fulkrug. I mean, 1.5 against a newly promoted squad isn't generally the best, so quite interesting to see what's going to be happening over there. But you guys let me know in the comments down below, are there any kind of standout fixtures? I know the Spurs 2.3 is making me look at Dom Solanke slightly easier, as Thomas Frank said that he should be back in training and available for selection. Otherwise, you know Salah captainers or even you know Salah owners, you might want to look away for that Bournemouth game, unless of course Haaland gets the majority of that 2.2 expected goals. Now the next talking point is not going to really relate to Game Week 1 specifically, however, you guys could always use a chip in Game Week 1. This is more generally what's my chip strategy. Now the first talking point I just want to go over is personally, I don't really like the feel of using a chip too early in the season. As with the previous talking point we just mentioned, the more game weeks we have of information, the better we can make decisions. That's probably where the first talking point comes up, or the first chip, and that's the wildcard. I personally wouldn't plan for an early wildcard before Game Week 1 has ended. 100% if you guys get to Game Week 3 or 4 and you really need the chip, that's always going to be okay, but I just wouldn't plan for it before Game Week 1. There's the debate that there's been so many new signings, new forwards specifically, that could shake things up, but that's where the flexibility of price points comes in, and that's how I've been recommending it in my draft videos. Now when to use the wildcard, there are going to be a few upcoming fixture swings. The one thing I also want to point out, and this is relevant for every single chip, is please don't forget AFCON and those 5 free transfers. So AFCON will be taking place in Game Week 16, so in Game Week 16 we'll be getting 5 extra free transfers, and that's going to be before the halfway point of the season, and therefore still in the first half of your chip strategy. I think at the current moment, Game Week 7/Game Week 13 looks pretty good for fixture swings, and that'll be enough time for you guys to assess the new signings as well as which teams are performing well. Now please don't think that I'm completely ridiculing you if you want to use an early wildcard, it is your team after all, but just remember 2 wildcards isn't new, we've had them every single season recently. I think some people are getting caught up in the hype that we have 2 of every chip, forgetting that we always have had the double wildcard, and personally I've always saved it for as late as possible. Now the next chip, the bench boost, is definitely relative to Game Week 1 if you guys do want to go there. I personally am not looking at an early bench boost, I'm thinking more of an AFCON bench boost at the end of the day. I just think at the moment there's a bit of uncertainty even with these cheaper options such as the Dubravka, is he even going to start? But if we get some positive news in the press conference, I think bench boost Game Week 1, 2 or 3 is definitely a go. My recommendation though for an early bench boost is I would rather spend the money and get certainty of starts than go for some of these cheaper options, even the relegation teams. Yes, if you're going for someone like a Dubravka and an Esteve and they're guaranteed to start, that can be okay. I'm just thinking about that 4.5 forward slot, as Mark Graham might not even play. So that's my recommendation, maybe spend a bit more value to get that certainty of starts, as that could ruin your actual strategy. Now the third chip is going to be the free hit, and for me this is quite a situational chip and it's going to be almost a reactionary chip. And I'd probably just use this when you guys feel that your team is not as good as it should be. Now that could be due to injuries, that could also just mean a lot of your players are facing each other. For example, Liverpool taking on Arsenal could block off a lot of your players. You might have a plan of when to use it, but as mentioned, I think it's quite a reactionary chip, and I would just assess this as the season goes along. Now the most kind of actionary chip is going to be the fourth one, that's the triple captain. I would have a plan for it at the current moment if you guys do want to use it, but no one knows what's going to happen a few weeks before that game week. So my personal triple captain plan is just to use it when a player is in form and has a really strong fixture, so no advice on that front. But my chip strategy at the moment, and I'll speak about this a little bit more in my team selection tomorrow, is I'm not trying to lock myself in too early into any chips. If you guys want to bench boost in Game Week 1, 2 and 3 and then wildcard out of it, that's 100% fine, but I like to have a few more game weeks under my belt before making decisions. I'm probably a bit more of a boring manager in that regard, so if you guys do want to be aggressive, I would go for it, as long as you guys have thought out your plans. In the comments down below though, let me know what your current chip strategy is, or you like myself kind of going with the flow a bit. It's not that I don't have a plan, it's just not the right time for me. Now my next talking point is also pretty relevant to you Game Week 1 drafters, and that's going to be which players to avoid. So I've seen this video floating around and some Twitter threads. These are my top 3 players with healthy ownership that I would probably give a skip. Now the first player is going to be Isaac, and I actually noticed this in my video yesterday, the template draft. Isaac has a healthy amount of ownership. Now at 10.5, pretty expensive, and to make matters worse, he might not even play for the club he currently is signed to. I don't know if you guys saw the reports, but he's refusing to play for Newcastle for another season. Now even if he does sign for Liverpool in a few days' time, I think to get integrated into the squad might take a game week or two, and therefore for me, he's the biggest avoid in the game at the moment. Now speaking about newly signed strikers for clubs, Gyökeres, apologies if I'm not pronouncing that right, but the new signing for Arsenal is obviously a great player, but for me, it's a wait and see. I know game week 2 is super kind of tempting against Leeds at home. The fixtures after that though, Liverpool, Forest and Man City aren't too pleasant, and even though he could be nailed as striker for Arsenal, I want to see if that actually happens. I think the next 6 game weeks we can kind of assess the fixtures aren't too great. If he looks like he's going to be on penalties and the main striker, we can bring him in come game week 7, and that's why I was speaking about Ollie Watkins and that flexible 9.0 price tag. But I guess a punt could just be going for him and even maybe captaining in game week 2. Definitely a viable strategy, but probably one not for me. And also just want to touch on Ekitike because he obviously is also a new signing for Liverpool, probably avoid until the Isaac situation is closed up. But he should be nailed for the opening few games if you guys do want to go there as a risky punt. Now my last option is going to be Mbeumo, or it also could be Cunha. These more expensive midfielders have just signed for United this past window. And while I think they're quality players and definitely great FPL assets, I don't think they're going to have the performance they did of last season. What you guys must remember is at their previous clubs, Brentford and Wolves respectively, these players were almost talisman. Will that continue in United is yet to be seen, and that's why I'm willing to give it a few game weeks of information. I will say though, Mbeumo's ownership as well as Cunha isn't that high, but I have seen him in a few more casual drafts, so I'm just going to put this one out there. In general though, FPL is super kind of subjective to you guys. If you want to go for any of these players, be my guest, but you probably won't find them in too many of my drafts. Now that doesn't mean they won't score FPL points, it just means they might be more risky. Is there any player that I've actually missed here? I've seen a few options over on Twitter that people are saying to avoid. I don't really like Konza at 4.5, but he's so cheap that the points might not be that different to another 4.5. Even Van der Ven at the same price point. One that we've just seen, Mark Gay from Crystal Palace. It looks like Liverpool might be pushing to sign him shortly, which could be a good signing, but might make him a little bit of a rotation risk. Let's see what transfer plans do lead up to that Game Week 1 deadline, as that might shake things up completely, mainly Isaac if he signs for Liverpool. Now the last talking point is going to be the last final talking point of all of our ultimate guides, and that's going to be the Camsey debate, and this week there's 3 premium options. Now the first player, and definitely going to be the most captain player even though his ownership is dropping by the day, is Mohamed Salah, and his projected points are the highest at 7.9. Now the thing I like about Salah is this is going to be a home fixture, and as you guys know, Bournemouth have been selling literally all their players, especially in that defensive department. So even though Salah looked too far out wide and he missed his penalty, I'm still going to back the Egyptian, and I'm pretty sure the majority of you guys are going to be as well. Now if you guys don't want to go for Salah, or maybe you don't even own Salah in your current draft, I think the Norwegian Erling Haaland is a good differential. Now his ownership currently is 22%, so that's going to be a maximum ownership of 44%, definitely a differential in Game Week 1. Now Wolves away, I do think that Wolves have improved defensively. When we were looking at Agbadou, does look like a quality player, but so is Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland is actually the highest projected goal scorer for Game Week 1, but as you guys know, 1 less point per goal for a forward and no clean sheet point. That's why his projections are currently a bit lower than Salah at 6.5 and doesn't have the same assisting threat. I do really like this Wolves fixture. I can see a few goals from Man City, and so did the projections, but they're also favouring Cole Palmer at the exact same projected points with Crystal Palace at home. I would probably say that Palmer is my third favourite option. I would probably captain Salah and Haaland over him, and that's just because Crystal Palace have looked okay during the preseason. They did concede 2 goals to Liverpool, but that's Liverpool at the end of the day. I think Chelsea are quality attack and they will score. It just depends on how many they will and what's going to be Palmer's ceiling. But still, Cole Palmer, the most popular premium at the moment with over 50% ownership. Wouldn't be surprised if some people put the armband on him. I think generally after these three, you're looking at mega differentials. You guys can let me know in the comments down below who's your current captain for the upcoming Game Week 1. Always good to start the season with a bang. Now, as mentioned, every kind of team is different, so if you guys have any talking points you want me to cover or any questions, drop them in the comments down below or my Discord server, link in the description. Otherwise, I will be answering all you guys' questions for at least 1 hour before the deadline, so make sure those notifications are turned on as you guys don't want to miss out on that one. But this is basically going to wrap up the video, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you have subscribed yet. Tons of content still to come up, namely my team selection, so make sure those notifications are turned on for that one. But for the time being, I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.